Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. If you truly want a man to miss you like crazy, you don't have to beg, you don't have to plead, and you don't have to chase. There are some silent rules that speak louder than anything you could ever say. See, men are wired in a way that when they feel your absence, when they can't predict your every move, that's when they start thinking about you nonstop. That's when they begin to wonder where you are, what you're doing, and why they don't have all of your attention anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, let me break this down for you in a way that will change how you think about relationships. If you want a man to miss you like crazy, you don't start with words, you don't start with arguments, and you don't start by chasing him down. You start with one silent rule that has the power to flip everything around, and that is learning the power of not always being available. Too many people think love is about being there every second, answering every call, responding instantly to every message, dropping everything you're doing just to show up. But let me tell you the truth. When you make yourself too available, you lose your value in his eyes. Availability is good in small doses, but constant availability creates comfort. And comfort, when it's taken for granted, turns into neglect. See, a man's mind works in a strange way. When he knows you're always going to be there, always going to say yes, always going to answer, he doesn't have to think about you. He doesn't have to put in the effort because he already knows the outcome. But when you step back, when you create a little distance, you shift the balance. Suddenly he has to wonder. Suddenly he has to think about you. Suddenly he's checking his phone, hoping to see your name pop up. And when it doesn't, that's when he starts missing you like crazy. Think about it. When you eat the same food every day, no matter how good it is, eventually you stop appreciating it. But let someone take it away for a little while and watch how fast you start craving it again. That's human nature. Scarcity creates value, and in relationships, it's no different. When you're always available, you're like air, he breathes it without even thinking. But when you pull back, when he can't reach you every single time, you're no longer just air, you're oxygen. He needs you to breathe, and that's when the panic sets in. That's when he starts realizing how much you mean. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you play games. I'm not saying you ignore him on purpose or try to manipulate him. I'm talking about genuinely living your life, genuinely focusing on your happiness, and genuinely understanding that you don't have to be on call like a service provider. You're a whole person with dreams, goals, and a life outside of him. And when you start honoring that life, when you start putting yourself first, you naturally become less available. And that's when he feels it. That's when he starts missing the warmth of your presence, the sound of your laughter, the little things he took for granted. Men are hunters by nature. If you hand them everything on a silver platter without making them work for it, they lose interest. It's not because they're cruel, it's because chasing is built into their DNA. When you're always there, you remove the chase. But when you pull back, you reintroduce it. You become the prize again. He has to think, he has to plan, he has to put in effort. And when a man has to put in effort, he values what he has. And when he values it, he misses it when it's not there. The silent rule of not always being available forces him to step into the space you leave behind. He starts remembering the way you smile, the way you make him feel when you walk into a room, the way you bring calm to his storm. He notices the absence of your good morning text and it bothers him. He scrolls through his phone, looking at old messages because he wants to feel connected to you again. That's what distance does. It magnifies your presence in his life. So if you want him to miss you like crazy, stop showing up every single time. Stop making yourself too easy to access. Step back, focus on you, create that little bit of mystery, and watch how his mind starts to race. Because when you're not always available, he'll realize just how much he needs you. And that's when missing you won't just be a thought, it'll be a constant feeling he can't shake. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share something with you today that can change the way you carry yourself in a relationship. If you really want a man to miss you like crazy, the first thing you have to learn is the silent rule of not always being available. This may sound simple, but it's deeper than you think. See, too often people confuse love with constant access. They think that being available 24/7 proves their loyalty, proves their dedication, proves that they're the right one. But the truth is, when you make yourself too available, you don't raise your value, you actually lower it in his eyes. Men start to expect you, not appreciate you. They stop noticing the effort because you've made it so easy. And when something becomes easy, it stops feeling special. When you're always answering right away, when you're always picking up on the first ring, when you're always saying yes to every plan, a man starts to assume you'll always be there. He doesn't have to chase. He doesn't have to wonder. He doesn't have to put in work. And the second he stops working for your time and attention, he stops valuing it. That's just how men are wired. They appreciate what they fight for, what they have to earn, what they have to prove themselves to keep. So when you're available every minute, you take away his reason to fight for you. Now, let's flip the script. The moment you start to create just a little distance, the moment you stop making yourself so predictable, that's when things shift. When he texts and you don't respond right away because you're busy living your life, it makes him think. When he calls and you can't answer because you're out doing something for yourself, it makes him wonder. That wondering, that space, that gap, it's the breeding ground for missing you. That's when he starts to realize your presence is not guaranteed. And that thought alone drives a man crazy. Think about it like this. If you eat the same meal every single day, even if it's your favorite, eventually you get tired of it. You don't crave it anymore because it's always there. But let that meal be taken away for a week, and suddenly you want it more than anything. You can almost taste it. That's human nature. Scarcity, you have to show him that your time is precious, your presence is valuable, and your attention is not a guarantee. And I'm not talking about playing games or being manipulative. I'm talking about truly embracing your own life. Spend time on your passions, your goals, your family, your friends. Invest in yourself. When you live fully, you naturally become less available, and it's genuine. That's the kind of energy a man feels. He sees you moving, growing, shining, and suddenly he's thinking, man, I want to be part of her world. He'll start to realize that if he doesn't step up, he might lose access to the very thing that makes him feel alive. The beauty of not being available all the time is that it keeps the spark alive. It keeps him guessing, it keeps him chasing, and most importantly, it keeps him appreciating, because when he finally does get your time, when he finally does get that phone call back, when he finally does see you again, it feels like a reward. And when a man feels like your time is a reward, that's when he cherishes it. That's when he guards it. That's when he misses it when it's not there. So, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. Being too available may feel like love, but it doesn't create longing. If you want a man to truly miss you, you have to pull back sometimes. Let him feel your absence so he can appreciate your presence. Let him wonder where you are instead of always knowing. Let him feel the silence, because in that silence is where missing you begins. If you want a man to miss you like crazy, one of the most powerful things you can ever do is focus on your own life and happiness. The truth is, people often make the mistake of pouring every ounce of their energy into another person, thinking that's the way to keep them. They believe if they're always giving, always doing, always sacrificing, the man will see how much they care and never want to leave. But what actually happens is the opposite. The more you lose yourself trying to keep someone else, the less they see your true value. A man can miss what he never has to fight for, and he can appreciate what he knows will always be there no matter what. When you shift that energy back onto yourself, something incredible happens. You begin to glow differently. You start to walk with more confidence because you're not waiting for anyone else to validate you. You're not waiting for a text to feel good about your day. You're not waiting for his attention to feel alive. You create your own joy, and that joy becomes magnetic. A man starts to notice that you're not just revolving around him. You've got your own orbit, your own rhythm, your own purpose. And when he sees that, it makes him miss you when you're not around, because he realizes you're not dependent on him to shine. Think about it. When you're constantly available and your entire world revolves around him, he doesn't feel the need to chase you. But when you're busy living your life, maybe you're going to the gym, pursuing your career, traveling, building new skills, or simply taking time for self-care, you create a space where he feels your absence. He starts wondering what you're doing, who you're with, why he's not the center of your attention anymore. That curiosity is the root of missing you. When you're not always in his face, when you're not always checking in, it leaves him with empty spaces that only thoughts of you can fill. Focusing on yourself also means building a life that feels full, with or without him. That's powerful because men are naturally drawn to women who have their own independence, their own identity, their own sense of self. If your entire happiness comes from him, then when he's not around, you fall apart. But when you can still laugh, still thrive, still keep moving forward without him, that's when he starts to worry. That's when he thinks, she doesn't need me, but I sure don't want to lose her. That's the exact thought that makes him miss you. The best part about focusing on your own happiness is that it doesn't just benefit the relationship, it benefits you. You become healthier, mentally stronger, more confident, and more fulfilled. You start attracting opportunities, experiences, and people that add to your life. And ironically, the happier you are on your own, the more a man wants to be part of it. Nobody wants to miss someone who's miserable, needy, or drained all the time. But everybody misses someone who's full of light, laughter, and energy. because being around that person feels like a gift. It's about shifting the power. Instead of constantly asking yourself, what can I do to make him love me more? You start asking, what can I do to love myself better? That shift changes the entire dynamic, because when you love yourself, you don't settle, you don't chase, you don't beg for attention. You set the standard. And if he wants to be part of your life, he has to rise to meet it. And when you hold that kind of standard, he can't help but miss you when you're not around. He knows that being with you is a privilege, not a guarantee. So when you focus on your happiness, you're not pushing him away. You're pulling him closer without even trying. Your energy becomes something he craves. Your presence becomes something he longs for. And your absence becomes something he feels deeply. That's how you make a man miss you like crazy, by showing him that you're whole, complete, and joyful with or without him. If you want a man to miss you in a way that keeps him thinking about you constantly, you have to respect yourself and set boundaries. Too many people think that love means letting everything slide, accepting whatever behavior comes their way, and giving endless chances. But what happens when you don't set boundaries is that a man starts to take your kindness for granted. He stops seeing the line between what is acceptable and what isn't. And before you know it, you're allowing things that you once swore you never would. Respecting yourself means showing that you have standards, and those standards are not up for negotiation. When a man sees that you stand firm on what you will and will not accept, it leaves a lasting impression on him. And when you're not around, he misses that strength. Boundaries are not about pushing someone away. They are about teaching people how to treat you. If you allow someone to come and go as they please, call when they feel like it, and disappear when they don't, then they'll never feel the weight of your absence. But when you make it clear that your time, your love, and your energy are valuable, a man quickly learns that being in your life is not a right, it's a privilege. And a privilege is something you earn, not something you take lightly. That's what creates missing. You create value by showing that not everyone gets access to you. And even the man you love has to respect those boundaries if he wants to stay close. Think about it this way. If a store gave away everything for free, people would come and take as much as they could, but they wouldn't appreciate what they walked away with. Why? Because there was no cost. But the moment you attach value, the moment you show that something has worth, people think twice before mishandling it. Your heart, your time, and your presence are no different. When you respect yourself enough to say no when necessary, to walk away when you're not treated right, to stand tall when someone tries to play games, you become unforgettable. A man can't help but respect you, and when you're gone, he can't help but miss you. There's a difference between being nice and being a pushover. Being nice means you are kind, loving, and compassionate, but being a pushover means you sacrifice your dignity just to keep the peace. And let me tell you, men don't miss pushovers. They may use them. They may enjoy the benefits for a while, but they don't lie awake at night thinking about the woman who let them get away with everything. And then they miss the woman who held them accountable, who made them rise to a higher level, who showed them that real love comes with respect. Respecting yourself also builds an unshakable confidence. You walk differently, you talk differently, and your energy says, I know who I am, and I won't settle for less than I deserve. That confidence lingers in a man's mind. When you're not around, he thinks about how you carried yourself, how you never allowed him to cross lines, how you made him treat you with care. And that memory doesn't fade. It grows stronger with time because he realizes that not every woman commands that level of respect. Boundaries also protect your peace. When you respect yourself enough to guard your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, you don't get drained by toxic behavior. You don't spend your nights crying over someone who isn't putting in effort because you know your worth. That peace, that strength, that stability, it's what makes you stand out. A man will think about all the chaos in his life and then remember how calm and grounded he felt around you. And that's when he starts to miss you. So understand this. Self-respect isn't about attitude. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your actions with your worth and never stepping down from that standard. The moment you decide to respect yourself fully, you send a message that resonates far beyond your presence. And when you're gone, that message echoes in his mind. That's when he starts to realize that losing you means losing someone who knew her worth, someone who couldn't be played with, someone who required respect. And that's the kind of woman a man misses every single day. If you really want a man to miss you like crazy, one of the most important silent rules you have to understand is this: stop chasing. The more you chase, the further he runs. The more you reach out, the more he pulls back. It's human nature. People don't value what comes too easy, and they don't crave what they don't have to work for. Every time you blow up his phone, every time you send message after message when he hasn't replied, every time you beg for his attention, you make yourself less of a priority in his eyes. You might think you're showing love and care, but to him, it feels like pressure. And pressure pushes people away. Men are wired to pursue. From the beginning of time, they were hunters. They want to feel like they've earned something, like they had to work for the prize. But when you do the chasing, when you do